I'm here with Chuck Gomes, Chair of the Next Generation Registration Directory Services, PDP Working Group. Chuck, what is WHOIS and might it be replaced with a new RDS?
WHOIS, in very simple terms, is a lookup service for internet domain names and internet protocol numbers that goes back to, I think, around 1982. And so anyone can use it depending on what they want to look up. They can look up a domain name registrant and other information about a domain, or they can look up information about internet protocol numbers.
Could you give us a brief overview of the background to the review and the potential to replace the WHOIS system?
Well, like I said, the WHOIS protocol goes back to 1982, and for the most part it hasn't changed very much since then, although a lot of people have done secondary things to make it a little more user-friendly. So it's terribly outdated. And so the working group, and let me back up, the community, the ICANN community, has been working on WHOIS for, I think, over 15 years. A few things have been done, but very little progress has been made because there are a lot of different points of view with regard to how much data should be displayed or not. And so this working group is tasked with following through in some preparatory work that's been done over the last couple years to try and reach some consensus on some basic decisions. The basic decisions are, is a new system required to replace the current WHOIS? Or could the existing WHOIS be modified to meet any requirements that the working group comes up with?
So as you say, this has been a long-running discussion within the community. And as a result, the working group's decided to take a phased approach to its work. Can you explain what this means?
Sure. Well, first of all, with regard to your first question, yes, it's been a long standing issue in the community. But with regard to the phased approach, there is an implementation group after the expert working group on registration data services that developed a framework, and that framework suggested 3 phases. The first phase is to develop requirements for a possible RDS system, whether it's old or whether it's the modified version of WHOIS. The second phase then would be, assuming that the decision is made that a new system is needed, would be to develop policies to fulfill the requirements from phase 1. And the third phase would be actually to develop the implementation guidelines and actually do what's necessary to implement the policies in phase 2. I should note, though, that phases 2 and 3 may be done somewhat in sync, whereas phase 1 definitely has to be done first.
The working group's already identified a number of interrelated issues which it's going to address. Can you give us an idea of what these issues might be?
Well, there are actually 11 questions in the charter. I won't go through all 11 questions, but 3 that are very important to answer and for which requirements are needed are, what is the purpose and who are the users of WHOIS? Another very important question is, how does privacy come into play? As you probably know, there are different privacy laws all over the world. And a third one that's really important, what are the data elements in WHOIS? There are, again, 8 other questions, but I won't go through all of those now. They're certainly available.
So what opportunities will Helsinki provide to further the work of the working group?
Well, first of all, on Monday afternoon at, I think 3 p.m., there's a cross-community session on the RDS PDP working group where everyone is invited. And that session will be designed for guests, people that are not part of the working group or not even observers, although those people will be there as well. And we will give them a very brief overview. More importantly, what we want to do in that session is give them an opportunity to provide input to the working group and for us to answer their questions. So we really want it to be an interactive session, primarily focusing on the guests that are in the room.
And looking beyond Helsinki, what will be next for this PDP?
Well, there's one more session in Helsinki. Okay, the second session is on Tuesday morning from 8 to noon with a break in there, when we will actually have a live face-to-face working group meeting. And that meeting will actually cover the next issues in the working group. We will be talking about requirements, both in that session and in the cross-community session. We'll be asking people in the room to suggest requirements. And if all goes well, we may even get a little further than that in the working group on Tuesday. But it will be an actual meeting that everyone is invited. One thing that will be different in the meeting is that we will allow guests to participate, not just members. In our normal working group calls, there would not be any visitor participation or even observer participation, but face-to-face meetings are an exception to that, so we really welcome people there as well.
Okay, thanks, Chuck.